Hello everyone and welcome to Instagram Influence in Business. I'm Liam Fay. I'm going to be hosting this webinar today to give you all the skills you need for your Instagram business. Now this webinar is being recorded, so if you're not watching it now, I guess you're watching it on YouTube later. So let's get started. If you have a question at any point in time, at the bottom of your Zoom controls, you have the option there to use the question and answer feature. Put your question in there. I'll stop occasionally, check if there's any questions and answer them as we go. Let's get into this. So this workshop webinar is presented by myself on behalf of Business Station and the Digital Solutions Program. Now, if you see me looking over this way, it's because I've got a dual screen set up and sort of working backwards and forwards between what you're seeing and what I've got in front of me as notes. So kicking off on Instagram, I suppose let's go back and just examine my history with it a little bit. So I started my first business at age 18 and I've had a few businesses since then. The majority of my time in business has been spent consulting and teaching others. And Instagram has always been one of those interesting platforms that's generally the second platform that businesses look at after Facebook. They go set up the Facebook, there we got the website set up, and now, do I need Instagram? Well, that's going to be one of the questions that we're going to answer today, along with helping you understand who's on Instagram, the various statistics of Instagram, and generally just the idea of what potential there is for your business. So Instagram first started out back in 2009, and it actually started out as a platform called Bourbon. It was to rate sort of the different bourbons and whiskies out there. You could check in, share photos. But the photo sharing feature, that was what really set Instagram apart. Back in 2009, photo sharing was very much a new concept. These days it's essentially built into all platforms and even gone away from that, and video sharing is the norm, which Instagram has adjusted to. So the Instagram sharing feature was the key thing that took it to the next level, and it relaunched in 2010 as Instagram, and in 2012 it was brought by Facebook. Since then, its journey has really been tied with Facebook, and the improvements we have seen have been sort of one-to-one. Now, a little bit of trivia for you. The very first photo that was ever shared was of a dog in Mexico near a taco truck, which was the owner's, I believe it was the owner's dog, or it might have just been a wild dog that was out and about. But that was the very first photo, as you can see down the bottom there. It's a great bit of photography. So, as a business owner, what is your advert potential? So this is worldwide statistics on skipping ahead here. Worldwide statistics on Instagram as of October 2020. So there's around about 1.16 billion to sort of 1.2 billion people that are active on Instagram. These are the number of people that you could potentially reach worldwide. 19% of the population aged 13 plus can be reached, and 76 million is the increase. So if this was October 2020, we could probably see, it'd probably be likely that Instagram at the moment has around about 1.3 billion users. So as a business, you know that you can potentially reach at least some customers on Instagram. So let's have a look about how this platform relates to others. Facebook. Facebook's the biggest, with 2.7 billion users, or around about one third of the world. YouTube. Now, YouTube is one that most people forget is actually a social media platform, but it definitely is considered to be one. It has 2 billion users. TikTok, the up and coming one, very video focused, 689 million, and Instagram in there. So it's very much on par with most other platforms. Looking into the Asian markets, you also have like your WeChats and those sort of apps. They haven't been included here, just relating it back to our market. So our market. In Australia, you can reach about 11 million people through Instagram. Around about 50% plus of the population is actually on Instagram over the age of 13. And on average, they spend 8 minutes and 47 seconds per day on Instagram. Now, this number is very important because it's the way that Instagram makes money. When you pull out your phone and load up Instagram, you generally see something from one of your friends or one of the followers that you follow first. The next one down will generally be some form of advertising, followed by more content that's catered to you. Instagram, like most social media platforms, makes their money through advertising. It wants to show you content that it believes you are most interested in. And in between that, it wants to show advertising based on how marketing agencies and businesses are targeting you. So if you're developing and designing content for for Instagram, you can tell I've been thinking about Facebook a lot lately, for Instagram, you really want to design content that's for your audience, something that they can engage with and connect with. Works on engagement. The more you like, comment, share anything online, Instagram goes, okay, Liam is interested in that content, I'm going to show them more of that content. So if you're in business and you're trying to get more followers to follow your content, you got to give them content that they're interested in so that they see it at some point during that 8 minutes and 47 seconds that they're connected and looking at their Instagram. So you really have to know exactly what you want to achieve from Instagram. Are you looking for brand awareness, sales, or leads? So each of these have very much a different approach to how you do your marketing. If you're focusing purely on brand awareness, you're putting out content out there that reflects your brand personality. You just want people to be able to go, oh, I know that product. When I see it, I know exactly what it is and I'm more likely to purchase it. This could work well if you're offline, your business is primarily based on physical sales. So service-based business is a great example of this. The next one is your sales. This is your typical approach for e-commerce. You see something cool, you want to buy it. Timing comes in very strongly when you start thinking about sales. With sales, you're more likely to get impulse buys later in the evening. So the time of the day that you actually post your products is very, very important. And you can add tags on your pictures to encourage people to click through. Final one, leads. So leads is where you want basically to capture the information of potential customers to do retargeting to them later. Again, this one is very well suited towards service-based businesses, or even if you've got a product launch coming up. Most of the content that you see on Instagram is going to be one of two styles. It's either going to be sales-based, where you're going to be clicking through to a product, or it's going to be user-generated content, friends, family, influencers. See, I've got a chat message. So the chat that we have is how many Australians, 51%, are active users. For example, the person who's asked the question, they have the app and account, but they never use it. So this number is purely based on active users. About half of all Australians over the age of 13 who have Instagram are active users. So looking at that market, the thing you got to realize is that the majority of those users are most likely going to be female, and they're going to be between the ages of 18 and 30. That's the market for Instagram. That's where it's at its strongest. The other very interesting thing about the statistics when you dive in deep with Instagram is that you tend to find that the people on Instagram are generally of a higher social economic environment. The data on this isn't available in Australia, but when you look at American statistics, the wealthier you are, the more likely you are to be on Instagram. So brands that are high-level brands do tend to have a stronger place than cheaper brands and more accessible brands. Hope that answers the question. So with that, understanding your audience is definitely important, and the different ways you can reach your audience. So there's a few different ways you can do that to essentially get people onto your Instagram. So the greatest approach at the moment is your in-person adverts. I've got the QR code behind me. I've got a mirrored screen, so I don't know which way to point. It's a great way at the moment to get people onto your social media. Have a QR code on the counter, someone's going to scan it. If you have a physical retail store, having an Instagram tag on your dressing room mirrors is a great one as well, because people like to share what they're potentially buying. Other socials. Other socials is another great way to connect with your customers. So if you have a Facebook page, a YouTube, even off your website, put a link through to your Instagram so that people can go, oh, they have Instagram, let's go check this out. One thing to note is that if you have an Instagram page and a Facebook page and a Snapchat and a TikTok and a website, YouTube and LinkedIn and every single social in the world, you don't want to be putting the same content on your Facebook that you have on your Instagram. There's two main reasons for this. The first one is that if I'm following you on Instagram and on Facebook and you give me the same lot of content, I might see it on both platforms but only engage with it once. So you're going to lose engagement on your page. So ideally, you want to develop content that's unique just to that social media. So that's the first reason. Second reason is because content on Instagram is generally more highly styled. You want highly stylized pictures. It's less real, a little bit more fake. More editing, more filters, brighter, bigger, better. I'm going to go back to Facebook because it's the biggest platform. With Facebook, you want to have content that's more real, more user-based, more people-based, less pretty, more that came from the business. So working with the different businesses that I have over the years, we might have the same image, but we edit it completely different for different platforms. So really think about how your brand is perceived online and develop content for that. So the next way to reach your audience is through hashtags. Hashtags connect users and they have relatable searches. So if you pull out your Instagram now, load it up and have a look, you'll have the options to search hashtags at the top. And hashtags can be location hashtags like hashtag Rockhampton, where I'm doing this webinar from, or it could be product-based ones, hashtag sunglasses. So you have a few different options of hashtags and people will search for hashtags based on their interests. I generally recommend that you develop a hashtag for your brand. So hashtag Business Station, hashtag Digital Solutions, hashtag Queensland Government, hashtag Coca-Cola. Have a hashtag there that your users, the people who follow your brand, can use. I have an e-commerce shop that I run with my wife, and we have our own hashtag for that. Our customers will put up a picture of them wearing our clothing line, use the hashtag, and from that hashtag, we can then extract those pictures and reuse them on our social media. So it's very useful for that. It's also a nice way to curate your content. Just watch out for anything that's not sort of curated and positioned towards your brand. That's the one risk with hashtags. So comment engagement. This is a strategy that's very much been popularized by Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. What you do is you search for a location or region. I'm going to use Rockhampton as an example. Type in hashtag Rockhampton, load that up, and you look for posts that have recently gone up. Now, it's very common with Instagram that you get lots of likes, but comments are rare. So if you go onto a page and you type in a comment, and it can't just be nice or thumbs up, it's going to be something that's actually sort of deep and meaningful. And generally a question is the best way to do that. oh, I love your sunglasses. Where did you purchase them from? What brand is that? When the user opens up that picture and sees that there's a comment on it, well, they're going to answer it because someone's talking to them. The second thing they're going to do is go, who is this person talking to me? So they'll then search your Instagram and find out who you are. So it's a great way to pull people into your brand, even if it's just briefly to have a look at your content. It's nice if when you pull them into your brand, you can engage with them. So the next way to reach your audience is to pay to be seen. This is the traditional ad approach. The first 4 examples are what we call organic strategies. You don't have to spend any money on them. You might have to spend some money if you're getting professional photography done, but you don't have to spend any money on the first 4 strategies. The next 2, generally, there's some sort of monetary involvement. So Instagram ads can be very, very effective because you can target out and put your content right in front of your direct audience. You can target just females between a particular age range. You can target people based on interest. So when we start doing targeted ads, there's generally 2 approaches. There's the short approach and the long approach. The short approach is when you're just targeting a very narrow audience, 18-year-old females to 20-year-old females. And you develop content that is relatable to them. So age-old example, you're trying to sell a caravan, you're not going to sell a caravan to an 18-year-old woman, most likely. You're going to sell it to a 40s, 50-year-old woman. So you've got to design content that's visually recognized. If you have an 18-year-old woman in front of a caravan, it's not relatable to the 40s, 50s, 60-year-old woman, and vice versa. So when you design your content, really think about how you approach your imagery. It's going to make your ads more effective. Finally, influencers. Influencers can be good and they can be bad. If you're starting to think about who you're going to choose as influencer, you really have to decide how they're going to reflect on your brand. And there's 2 approaches to influencers that you can go down. And I'm going to go into this in more detail. Come back to this one. Choosing your influencer. So you want to make sure that you choose an influencer that has a relatable market to you. So if you're trying to sell sunglasses, you want to choose an influencer that has some sort of connection with sunglasses or fashion to begin with. If you're trying to sell cars, you want to target an influencer that has some sort of connection towards cars. There's no point picking out an influencer to sell garden tools that has never been in the garden in their life, because they're not going to have an audience that relates to that product. Sometimes when you're picking an influencer, one with a micro audience, a niche market, can be more valuable. So what you're really looking for is your engagement and your follow rates. It's very easy to go out and buy followers. There's many, many websites you can do it on. There's absolutely no benefit to it as a business other than making your brand seem bigger. So you really want to make sure that if you're going to get customers onto your Instagram, they're what we call valuable customers. There's some sort of potential that they're going to be purchasing your product. So if you have an influencer you're considering working with, and let's say they have 10,000 followers, you want to make sure that they have some engagement in likes and comment on each of their posts. Because you could have an influencer that has 100,000 people that follow them, but only 100 people that engage with them. So they wouldn't be a very valuable choice. So you want a sizable following and high engagement rate. So just go through their posts, see, okay, they got 1,000 followers, check to see that they got 20, 50, 40 comments. Check to see that they got over 100 likes. That's how you know that they have an active engagement. Consider your customer acquisition costs. There's generally 2 to 3 ways to hire an influencer. You can pay per post, pay per result, or you can do product for posts. So my e-commerce stores have personally done product per post in the past, where we've sent out product to influencers and gone, use this product, post it online, keep the product for yourself. That can be a very effective way, especially when you're starting up. You can pay per post. Generally, you're paying per post for the bigger brand name type influencers. Me personally, I prefer to pay per result. So we'll give you $1,000 if you give us $10,000 in sales. So work out a detailed contract and get the right legal advice for doing that before inquiring and engaging an influencer. But I generally recommend, especially if it's your very first time, consider a product for post or only pay per result. So give your influencer a key code, that coupon code that their followers can use. When you see that it's been used 100 times on your e-commerce site, you know that you've picked the right influencer. And then you can renegotiate your deal from there. Now, one of my favorite strategies with influencers is to make your customers your influencers. And we do this with our brands. So how we do this is when a customer purchases a product from us, we leave a nice little card in their box along with their product. It essentially says, if you love our product and you love our brand and you want to tell everyone about it, use this hashtag. To help get your friends connected, you can use this free discount code for 10% off your next purchase that your friends can also use. So if that code's been used 10 times, we'll generally send out a new code to that customer influencer, along with some additional free product. And we have different scales that we go up. So the more actively our customers are engaging and sharing our product and getting us sales for those use of those codes, the more we give them, which is encourages them to keep going. Cost price on some of our product can be less than $20. The value cost to a customer can be over $100. So when they get that free product they weren't expecting, along with a new discount code, they're very excited. So it can be a very effective strategy for getting your brand out there for $20. It's going to depend really on what your product is. In this case, mine was fashion. So let's keep going with paid advertising. So you're paying to get your product out there. Realize that your budget can be as low as $1 per day. And I've done campaigns that have had budgets over $1,000 a day, and I've done campaigns that have had $1 to $2 per day. And if you're targeting a niche market with a very well-defined audience, with the right content designed for that audience, you can get results for $1 per day. It can be very effective. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to reach your customers. So this is really where you got to consider what your customer acquisition cost is. If you're selling coffees, your customer acquisition costs, cafes, I think generally around about 20 cents. So if you're spending $1 a day, you want to get 5 customers out of that post. If you're selling a brand new Lamborghini, I think they go in excess of $250,000, then your customer acquisition cost might be in the couple of $1,000s. So you really have to understand how much you're prepared to spend to acquire each customer and measure your results. If you're not getting results for those dollars spent, you really need to consider how you're approaching your advertising. It could be that you're not targeting the right audience, the right area. It might be that your visuals aren't engaging with your audience. So paid advertising is very much a trial and error, at least in the beginning, until you define who your audience is and what content works for them, and then constantly adjust as your market changes. So the best thing you can do is create call to actions that lead your people onto your website or to directly message, depending on how you approach your sales. The thing that I like about websites is that if your website's set up correctly, then you have a salesman that never stops working. You don't always have to take your customer straight through to your homepage or even through to the product. There's a few different ways you can approach this. I like to use landers. I'll send them to a particular page which has been designed to target just that audience. So if we look at using my activewear as an example, if we're using an ad to target mums, we will send them to a lander that has a lot of imagery of pregnant users wearing our clothing lines, mums with new babies, exercising, that sort of thing. We create a visual around our target market. So we like to start by designing our advertising campaign, who we're targeting, followed by designing the visuals, designing the web page that they're going to be landing onto, and then all that together creates a sales funnel. The most important thing when you're doing any sort of paid advertising is to make sure that you have the appropriate call to action. And when you do get it all set up, A/B test your adverts. Change the imagery or the message, your caption, to test for a better response. I don't think there's been a single time in my entire career of marketing, over 13 years, that I've ever put up one ad and just left it exactly the way it was. A/B testing every single thing to fine tune it down is the best way to go. I like to start with the visuals. I normally have 3 to 4 different visuals that I'll try. Once I get a visual that they like, then I'll try the caption. I'll change the wording until I get a set of wording that works really well. Then I'll go back and change the visual. Then I'll change the later. And over the period of about 2 weeks, I might change the advertising campaign upwards to 10 times in fine-tuning down how I approach my customers. That's what you're paying for when you hire a digital marketer. It's that fine-tuning of the ad campaign. So let's go on to the next bit. Let's talk about hashtags. So hashtags is definitely the key way that your audience connects organically. And the best way to do it is to keep it simple. Always keep it simple. Don't use very long, over-the-top hashtags. You got to remember that your audience is also typing in on a very small phone, a very small keyboard, and it's very easy to make typos and mistakes. If you're like me and you're bad at spelling, you want to make sure that your audience can spell out your keyword, your hashtags, and your brand names very easy. So keeping it simple is important. You also got to make sure that it's relevant. If I'm in Rockhampton advertising a Rockhampton product and I'm hashtagging Brisbane, it's not relevant to my audience. If I'm hashtagging Coca-Cola and I'm talking about sunglasses, again, it's not relevant. You got to make sure that whatever you're hashtagging is relevant to the audience that you're targeting. It's also got to be relatable. They got to understand it. More hashtags is not always better. There's huge arguments on how many hashtags are the right amount of hashtags to use. And every single person I talk to, it's different, even right down to Instagram. So I generally like to trial a few different numbers, but sometimes somewhere between 5 and 12 hits pretty sweet. More isn't always better. Locate yourself using location tags, especially if you're a localized business. You might be that cafe. Use a hashtag. And the hashtag can be hashtag Rockhampton, or could be even as specific as hashtag Queen Street. When you put up your post, you can actually put up a location tag to let people know exactly where your business is. And my final main recommendation with hashtags is never be spamming. What I mean by that is don't go hashtag digital solutions on every single one of your posts. Don't spam out an entire feed of it. The only hashtag that I'll use over and over again is my own brand hashtag. So don't go hashtag Kim Kardashian, hashtag all the most popular hashtags out there, hashtag like for a like. Don't be spamming. It's not really going to build your brand any further forward. Make sure that the hashtags that you use are unique to the context of what you're putting up. So posts are one thing, and that's what we're focused on at this point in time. But the next part is really using Instagram stories. Instagram stories are incredibly powerful, especially when you start to deal with a younger audience. Generally, and I'm going to say this because I still feel young, but generally we have a smaller attention span. You can't keep us as interested for as long as you want to. So stories are very important for re-engaging with your audience. So when you look at your Facebook page, you have your feed, which is the post that you put up, photos and videos, and then you have your stories, which are the circles at the top, where you can click on and cycle through 15 seconds of content that's designed to re-engage you. And there's sort of two ways to approach it. I approach stories as immediate content, what's happening in the business now and then, what I'm doing now and then, while I use the feed as more curated content of what's going on. The most powerful thing with Instagram stories is all the tools and the features that you can use to actually connect and engage with your customers. So it has built-in tools, filters, and music. So the music is a fun one because you can add in tunes to sort of increase your visual, engage with your audience on a beat and a sound. It's something that I very much do enjoy doing. It's also kind of really much built off the TikTok approach. We add music to your stories. But in those tools, you have a wide variety of things that you can use, including to make your photography and your video better. In the example that you see in front of you here, we have the level tool. So the level tool will give you an indication of how level your photo is, how level you're holding your phone. Another good one is the grid. This can allow you to get much better photos. If you use the rule of threes, where you have 3 layers of visuals in your photos, it'll be much better. So sky, house, land, for instance. Offset your photos, so have your person here, as opposed to having them perfectly center. It's purely artistic approach. When you start to look at people and items, we generally have a direction, which is our forward facing. That's where you, this is a hard one to explain. Where I'm at the moment, if I am completely centered to my screen and take a photo like this, it's got a lot of dead space on either side. It tends to be a bit more boring. If I offset myself slightly and turn it this way, it looks very sort of natural. But if I face the other way and face away and I've got all this dead space behind me, it doesn't look right. So you always want to make sure that you have imagery facing inwards. Use the create mode to develop content to reach your audience. So you don't actually have to use photos or videos. So if you're not the best at creating things for stories, you don't actually have to use them. You can use the creative mode to engage with your audience by using things like asking questions, doing polls. And you don't have to have a picture or a video that you put behind you. The next sort of thing is your stickers. Your stickers enhance your story engagement, but you can also add your tags. So one of my favorite ones is the love heart one. This one here. How much do you love this product? Polls is another favorite of mine, because with polls you can find out what your customers want. So whenever we're releasing a new line or new color, we go, do you want to see this product but in burgundy? And if we get 100 responses saying yes, burgundy, we know then that's a goer. But we might also be testing, say, navy. We go, do you want burgundy or navy? And if we get 100 responses for burgundy and 1 for navy, we know that burgundy is the right color. So you can use polls to essentially test your product and the products you want to bring to your customers out on your market. Another useful one is that location hashtag. Again, it centers your position where your business is. Those are the main ones that I like to use, but there's definitely lots of new stickers and adding to stickers all the time. So going on, following through with the tips for better visuals. Natural light. Right now I'm under LED lights, and you can see that I'm getting a little bit of white glow. My skin color is very white. I'm a white guy to begin with, but if you use natural light, it'll be a lot softer. It's 6:30 at night where I'm recording this at the moment, so I can't use any natural light, but outside light looks better. And in a situation where you've got the LED lights on you, try and soften it as much as you can. We call this scrimming in the video world. We set up a scrim which impedes the flow of the light so it's not direct and becomes softer. In the photography, that's generally referred to as the softbox. So the softer your light is, the better your imagery will be. Angle your camera. Straight on photos isn't always the best way. Creative photos do tend to attract more attention. Thinking back to a client of mine that I've worked with in the past was a butcher, and we play around with different styles of imagery, including doing like point of view shots over their shoulder, looking down to see what they see when they're making their sausages and tying them together. Those sort of imageries was very, very popular with our customers because it's a point of view that they don't always get to see or ever get to see. Never settle for your image straight out of the camera. Instagram has some great tools built in to help you edit your photo, increase the contrast, brighten, color, filter, edit it to perfection. You can also download, if you want to go into the advanced thing, you can download Adobe Photoshop for your mobile phone. So you can have a lot of the editing tools and features that we have on a PC and a computer right on your mobile phone. There's various other tools that you can use as well. So always give your photos that little bit of a touch up, that little bit of edit. And keep in mind what your brand guidelines are. So make sure that your visual is something that it's the same thing. Don't go from very, very bright photos to very dark and moody photos, because your audience is going to know that there's been a change in style and you probably get a drop off on it. So you make sure that the editing style and the colors you use when you're editing is very much in touch with your brand guidelines. And if you don't know what brand guidelines is, that's definitely something that you need to learn in business. You want to make sure that the colors and the approach that you use in your business is the same online, offline, on your vehicles, on your shop signage, on your website. That way your customers recognize your brand and what it looks like. If I say Coca-Cola, initially the color that comes to mind when you think Coke is the red color. So that's a brand color for Coca-Cola. So when you're designing your editing, you want to make sure that you keep in touch with the same sort of brand approach. I have the question if I use Snapseed as an editing tool. I've never actually heard of that one. Like I said, there is definitely many, many tools out there that you can use. The recommendation on which one's the best, I don't like to give this recommendation. I like to say, find the one that works for you, then that's the best tool for you. Until it has a feature you don't need, then look for another one. So with everything that you do for your content, right down to your brand colors, you want to make sure that the key thing is that you always be consistent. Developing a style and strategy that represents your brand. Now, be aware that brand development takes time. Instagram development of a page takes time. So you really got to work out a marketing plan and stick with it. I've worked with people in the past where they got a little bit disheartened when they've set up an Instagram page, Facebook page, and a website, and it's day 2 and they're going, where are all the customers? Unless you've done a huge setup to your pre-launch, it's going to take a while to build your customers out. So you really have to design that marketing plan and you have to stick with it. And I like to say you need to stick with your marketing plan for at least a quarter, even 6 months. Give it a chance to work, because you don't want to cancel your marketing plan right when it's beginning to make a change for your business. So when developing that plan for Instagram, I like to start with a content calendar. So I print out a standard calendar, or I use the calendar on the wall, and I start marking out what content I want to post. So the first one might be an introduction to the owners. Next one might be what's important, the quality of their product. Then I might go on to what's the most, I might do, how we make our product, where our product's made. Then I might have imagery of one of our models wearing our product, testing it, trying to rip it. And I plan out my content for the entire month, and then I pull out my trusty mobile phone. I'm using a Samsung Ultra 20 Note, God knows what, I think that's it. And, it doesn't matter if it's an iPhone 8, 10, 11, 12, they're all good cameras these days. I go out and I take the photos. So I'll plan out an entire photo shoot, getting all the content I need for the month. Based on our brand guidelines, I'll take all the photos, then I'll proceed through and edit all the photos. So I have it all pre-planned for the entire month. And for a startup brand, doing an entire month worth of content generally takes me about 2 to 3 hours, from planning through to shooting through to editing, and another 2 hours to write the captions. Generally pretty slow at caption writing, which is the next step. You want to make sure that whatever you put up with your product, with your photos, is compelling. You want to tell your brand story. It's not just enough to go, hey, I'm Liam, I own a business, come and like my page. No, you got to tell them something that they're going to engage with, something that they're going to connect with and relate with. It's got to be compelling. The best captions are the ones that always tell a story. I've put up photos, just essentially a photo taken of the back of a ute, which had the brand on it, and told a story about how the brand had been around for 38 years. It went off, totally engaging story. It didn't have any people in it. It just had the story that the business has been around for 38 years and how it started. And the cool thing about this was our customers then jumped on and told their own stories with the brand, which were all positive, thank God. But in the stories were things that I didn't even know and the current owner didn't know. It was stories that had been lost when the original owner passed on. So if you tell a compelling story and you build your brand over a long period of time, your customers will actually pick up that brand and tell their own stories with it. So the final thing when developing your content is to make sure that you use your shop functions and you have links in your bio to create sales and leads. It's not enough to put up a cool product or tell about your service and how you started your business and what you can do for your customer if they have no way to action it. Keep in mind that the most likely time of the day that your customer is going to be seeing that post is going to be when it's after hours, they've finished work for the day. And if you're anything like me, you don't want to be talking to customers and, having work to do and phone calls and lead questions while you're sitting back and trying to enjoy a nice whiskey on a Friday afternoon. So make sure you have those leads connected through to your website that can do that work for you. So if you're a service-based business, make sure you have the booking function. So your customers can go, okay, they do this. This is how I book them in. I want them there on Monday. If it's a product-based business, yep, I want to purchase this and have it there on Monday. Customers always want things on Monday if it's a Friday. So make sure that you have the ability to action anything that you put up. If you're putting up shots of products, put the product tags in there so that they can purchase the product and connect straight through to your shop. It's very important. So we're getting towards the end now of this webinar series. So what are your next steps for learning? Journey doesn't end at this webinar. The next steps for learning is to have a look and see if the Digital Solutions program is suitable for you. You can get 7 hours of personalized business mentorship for only $44. You can meet face-to-face with experts or online, build your business and hit your goals. Mentorship is available in social media and digital marketing, online security, data privacy, websites and selling online, and using small business software. So how does that translate? What does that mean? Let's say you've been considering setting up an e-commerce store. You can talk to one of our digital experts, hopefully a specialist in exactly the e-commerce shop you want to set up, let's say Shopify or WooCommerce, and get the information that you need to know to build it yourself, to go to a developer, to take those next steps in growing your business. Along with those 4 key areas, you can also get help in financial management, managing staff, connecting with your customer, developing resilience, knowing about the grants and tenders. There's a great grant at the moment out called Business Basics. If you're in a regional area, I definitely recommend checking it out, and you can find it on Grant Finder. So you can get a wide range of business advice and support that can help your business go to the next levels. Are you eligible? So you're eligible for the program if you are ABN registered in Western Australia, Queensland or Northern Territory. If you have access to this webinar from outside those areas, check in with your own local states. They do have programs running, at least at the time of this webinar. You got to make sure that your business is running to make a profit and you have fewer than 20 full-time staff members. So if that's you, visit this link down the bottom, businessstation.com.au/program/digital solutions, or just type into Google Business Station Digital Solutions and you'll find it. So in wrapping up this webinar today, is there any questions from anyone in the active Zoom audience at the moment? Now's your chance to ask those questions. And I'm monitoring the chat for them. Hopefully we just got a few slow typers on it. There we go. Not a question, but audience says that was a very comprehensive webinar on all things Instagram, influence, and business. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube or a link later and you do have a question, do feel free to get in touch with me. You will find my contact details on the Business Station Digital Solutions Advisor page. So I've got a great question here. Shanti says that her target market is 35 to 55-year-olds. So she's not sure if Instagram is better than Facebook. So the double-edged sword here. So you can develop out your audience now for Instagram, and you might discover that you have an entire potential audience that's younger than you think. Your 35-year-old audience might actually turn out to be a 25-year-old audience to 55. So that's the first. The second thing is that 25-year-old market at the moment, in a few years' time, they're going to be 35. They're going to be your audience. So if you have an established presence already, it can help you lead into the next things. So I generally recommend if your Facebook is already well set up and it's delivering leads, it's time to start considering new sales channels. So sales channels are the different points of contacts that your customers initially engage with your brand or business. And eventually it all leads to the point where they give you dollars. So you're going to ask the question, who has my money? Find them and get the money off them. So if your Facebook's working effectively, it's time to look at number 2. And Instagram might be the right target market, but the right target market could be TikTok. It could be setting up a YouTube channel. So the only way to really understand who your market is to test it, try it out. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a shot in the dark. So I recommend if you've never had an Instagram presence before, develop a plan, test it out for 3 to 4 months and see what sort of results you get from it. It's always worthwhile trying to reach new audiences. And if you don't end up reaching anyone, at least you have a basis designed and ready to go for when your audience eventually reaches that age bracket. Was there any other questions from the audience? So yeah, do keep in mind, you can get in touch with me, ask those questions, but for $44, you can get a 1 hour of my time where I can talk with you face-to-face or over Zoom, and we can discuss your business in detail. Once I get to understand your business, I can generally offer better advice than give it a go. Each and every business is definitely unique. I've worked with businesses ranging from everything from import, export, e-commerce, trade market, not-for-profits, construction, lawyers, doctors, a lady that made candles. Just about any market or industry you can think of, I've probably worked with or consulted or advised at least once. I can't think of any that I haven't worked with just yet. So once I understand your business, I can definitely give much better advice. Okay, well, thank you very much for attending the Instagram Influence in Business. If you've been watching this online, hopefully you haven't skipped through too many boring parts. And if you're looking for more advice that's detailed and directed towards your business, then jump on, pay your $44 and access 7 hours of mentorship through the Digital Solutions program. If you're watching this later and you can freeze frame this, you can pull out your phone and try and scan it. I might actually, there we go, I'll stop share, make it easy for you. Scan that and it will take you directly to our program. Thank you, everyone, and good luck in your business.